What is the most ridiculous thing that you have ever had to explain to somebody? Back when I was teaching, I had to tell a classroom of 9-year-olds that the Earth wasn't going to end in December 2012 and then having to tell their parents that the world wasn't ending in December 2012. When they asked how I was so sure, I said, "Come see me in January 2013 and I'll explain it to you then." 4 kids' parents showed up in January 2013 and demanded to know how I knew the world wasn't going to end. That was the most ridiculous thing I have ever had to explain. Fact, stupid parents are the primary reason teachers quit teaching, with bad administrators being a distant second. I was in high school around this time and remember a lot of people believed the world was ending in December 2012. Like a lot. For many it was a religious thing, but for others I think the fear and hype just caught up to them. But people got shelters and shit for it. It was a big deal. That pizzas aren't cooked in pizza boxes. Had a regular customer at an Italian place I worked once exclaim that we were magicians, because he couldn't even reheat his pizza without nearly burning his house down. Mind you, this was at a counter that faced the end of the pizza oven. Customers could literally watch you take it from the oven, off the oven tray and into the takeaway box. Somehow, he just never put the pieces together. Would try to reheat leftovers, crank his oven at home up, put the whole box in and have it catch on fire every time. The look on his face when I explained has stayed with me for a decade. I used to be a delivery driver for a takeaway. Someone phoned to complain there was a little bit of plastic in their pizza. It looked like a little table. They were complaining about the plastic spacer that stops the top of the pizza box from touching the pizza. I was sitting outside looking at the stars with the person I was dating. The sky was exceptionally clear and dark and I mentioned how bright the stars were. They replied with, "Yeah, it was super sunny today so they got a good recharge." Straight face, not an ounce of sarcasm or hint of a joke. I had to explain, to a 40-year-old parent, that stars are similar to our sun and produce their own light. They are not the same as the glowing dark star stickers that their child had in their bedroom. I pointed out some star names to a neighbor once. She said, "How do you know the names? Don't they just pop up wherever they want every night?" Oh, I just said no, they are in fixed places. I didn't have time to explain the universe. I deal with the general public on a daily basis. Needless to say, I die a little each day. 5 p.m. today until 5 p.m. tomorrow equals 24 hours. Loads of basic math. Here is one example though. Customer buying a 12-pack of beer. Beer had a $3 coupon that required the purchase of 2 bags of chips. Lady proceeds to buy the 2 bags of chips, about $7. So she could use said coupon. Then gives the chips away because she didn't want them, she just wanted to save $3 off her beer. I tried explaining that she just paid $4 extra instead of saving $3. She didn't believe me. I remember the time when it was my birthday last year. My relatives usually like to send me money, which I am grateful for. My relatives from England usually send me money via the post. But since there was upcoming Brexit stuff that might have had an impact, and of course COVID also, they decided not to, but to attempt a bank transfer instead. I saw no problem with that. My mother wanted me to send my bank details to my relative, but I was skeptical of taking a screenshot of them just in case something leaked or whatever. My mother insisted of me to take the screenshot for convenience, but I made an excuse saying, "Oh no, the other details that I don't want her, my relative, to see will be seen by her," pretending I didn't know about cropping. Next thing, my mother gets a towel and covers half the screen of my phone in attempt to cover the unnecessary details and saying, "Take a screenshot of this," thinking that they will be blocked out by the towel and not end up in the final photo. She was confused as to why they wouldn't be blocked out. It took me about 10 to 20 minutes to explain this to her that isn't how phones work. Fun. I had to explain to my roommate how to take out the trash. She asked, "So do the garbage men just come into the house and empty our garbage for us?" But a roommate who was like this. We lived in the country and had to take ours to a dump, which was literally 5 minutes away from us. Had to drive her there and explain how you throw a bag of garbage into the big green thing and you leave. She ended up having her father take the garbage every other week on her week to take it. Said it was too confusing for her. My GF works at an optometrist shop. She once had a lady bring in her glasses because she needed a new prescription, but she thought that it just needed to be refilled with medicine. The lady thought that they had vibes of medicine that they pour into the glass and it heals your eyes. Not making this up, another man really liked his glasses but they fogged up and he needed to read. So naturally, as one does, he took a power drill to the lenses and punctured holes so that the moisture could escape. Cool. Fogging problem solved. But now I can't see cause there is a large fucking hole in my glasses where I punched a power drill through them. Help me please. We are out in the world every day relying on these people's brains to keep society functioning. We're fucked. Edit. I was just reminded of another guy. This Einstein put his eyeglasses in the laundry washer. Of course it demolished his glasses but it also destroyed his washing machine. He couldn't afford a new machine so now he has to trek to the laundromat. He was very upset that nobody told him those glasses were not machine washable and all future customers need to be warned of this. I was tutoring this girl from my class in math and I explain a concept to her and show her the steps in applying it. She nods and solves a problem on her own. All good. Then, I give her a similar problem to do and I work on my own homework while she's doing the problem. I'm engrossed in my work and after a few minutes when I check on her, she's staring at her notebook. The question is easy enough and she should have been done by now. So I ask her which part confused her. I look over at work and everything seems good until I reach the part that stumped her. She had to add some sums. A little confused, I showed her how to add the numbers together and ask her to do the same. Wide-eyed. She asks me how I did that. I show it to her again. Still doesn't get it. I explain. It's simple addition. You have a number and then you add another number to it and you get the answer. Simple, easy. Still doesn't get it. At this point, I'm kinda done. Mind you, this is not elementary school. This is when we were in 10th grade. So, I use the example of pens. I show her how when I add 2 pens to 1, it becomes 3. She looks a bit confused but nods. I begin to ask her if she grasped the concept when her phone rings. Her mom arrived to pick her up and that marks the end of my short and frankly tedious tutoring career. That is the day I learned that I would not make a good teacher. Later, I learned that the girl switched from math and it was the greatest news I heard that day. That electricity makes the movie theater work. There were multiple times that when the power went out people would come to the box office and attempt to buy tickets for a movie. When we told them that we couldn't sell tickets because we currently did not have power, they would insist that they didn't want to come right now and wanted the ticket for later. I had to reiterate that we did not have power so therefore the registers were down so we could not sell tickets. They would insist that we sell them tickets, or go over to the kiosk to buy tickets because we refused to do it. Then they'd get mad that the kiosks were broken. It was so baffling how people did not understand that no power equals no movies. Then they had the audacity to tell us that we had poor customer service. Not me but a friend I had decades ago. He worked for a local cable company and his job was tech support for internet. The power had gone out in a few neighborhoods and this woman calls angry because she can't get online. He wasn't aware power had gone out a neighborhood so he starts asking her about things being plugged in. Are lights on? Has she tried pushing certain buttons? After over a half hour of trying to figure things out, she says her computer also won't turn on. Can he fix that too? Then he asks if the power is out in her area. She says yes. He has to explain to her that when the electricity is not available, things won't turn on. There's a reason people don't stay long in over-the-phone tech support. Not enough money to deal with idiots. I once worked a job with a very conservative boss, so conservative he refused to let his kids read Harry Potter cause it was the devil. One day he comes over to my cubicle with a question. He has this serious look and says, I saw a bumper sticker today that said, I'd rather be spanking my monkey. What does that mean? spank my monkey. I managed to keep a perfectly straight face. I paused for a second, dropped my voice slow and said, as matter-of-factly with no hint of humor as I could, "Well, Mr. Boss, that's a euphemism for male masturbation." Can see his mental wheels turning. Oh, his eyes go wide. Oh, yes. Thank you for letting me know. Wow, okay. He then left my cubicle and we never spoke of it again. I was on a road trip with some college friends headed to Florida. I made a joke that we should just drive the other way all the way to Alaska. One of the girls on the trip laughed like I had made a hilarious joke, and when I asked why it was so funny, she said, "Well, Alaska is an island so we can't just drive there." She was 100% serious. When we all tried to explain to her that it was not an island but actually just attached to Canada, she tried defending herself by explaining to us that it's depicted as an island on all the US maps. I guess she never stopped to wonder why one whole side of the island was perfectly straight. Had to explain that just because something could be vaguely based on true events, things, that it could still be considered fiction. This was in a college English class where a guy was 100% serious when he argued Forrest Gump was a true story and non-fiction because someone could run across America, win the Medal of Freedom, and become a world-renowned ping-pong master. I said, "No, that was a fictional character from a movie." He said if it could be true it must be non-fiction. I asked how he feels about dinosaurs being reanimated in Jurassic Park. He came back with the fact that dinosaurs once existed so it is non-fiction. At that point the professor laughed and asked him what high school he graduated from so she could email the head of the English department there. That insomnia is a real thing and some medicines do actually affect your ability to sleep. He didn't buy it then assaulted me cause I couldn't fall asleep when he told me to. Edit, for those asking, yeah he did. I was doing some work for an internship at around midnight because we were both on a deadline and I take anxiety meds and the main side effect for me is sleep deprivation. My roommate was angry that I was doing this because it was late and asked me why I was up so late and if I had ever worked a job. I replied that I was doing internship stuff and that an internship was indeed work, and that this wasn't my first job. I did also explain to him that I had tried to explain to him, before he moved in, that I typically didn't fall asleep till early morning because of my anxiety medication, which I had told him multiple times before. That apparently pissed him off enough to punch me and start telling me how I was making up everything. He then told me to go to bed. I shut down my workstation and walked out and moved out by the next day. When I was about 25, a group of us went on a weekend away, staying in halls at a university, whilst the students were on vacation. I got to my room, being shared with my brother and two others, an hour after them. "Glad you're here," they said. "We can't get the oven to work." "Show me." So I get explained to me they can't get the gas oven to ignite, with the handheld electric spark thing. I don't know its proper name, and they'd been trying for 30 minutes. I look at it for only 5 seconds and tell them, firstly, this isn't an electric spark thing, it's a detachable handle for the grill pan. You can't light anything with this. On the plus side, it doesn't matter, this is an electric oven. I have celiac disease and I had to explain, multiple times, to my roommate of 1 year, that I could not eat gluten, all while he was getting mad at me, telling me that I can eat gluten while I have celiac disease because it is just a slight allergy. I still think he believes that I have no idea what I am talking about and that I'm just lying. This happens all the time. It's very annoying. My own mother will try and get me to taste something it's just a little bit, it won't kill you, or the recent one where I couldn't eat my dinner cause stepdad decided to cut his crusty bread roll over the plates of food. But I'm just being fussy. It's not an allergy. Back in the pre-internet days, I worked customer service at a computer company and someone called because the mouse cursor kept going the wrong direction. I had to explain that the wire on the mouse had to be pointing away from them. I had to tell another person that the mouse was not a foot pedal, like on a sewing machine. People were incredibly dumb about computers back then. I had to give up on one person and suggest that they had to take a basic computer class before I could help them. They didn't understand click, double-click or dragging. Worked with a guy that found out I was in a long-distance relationship, US to Germany, and he felt compelled to let me know that he was sympathetic and understood my situation because he was also dating an illegal immigrant. He had already pissed me off previously asking when my wedding was going to be, and I told him we didn't know yet. He then laughed at me, wondering how I didn't know, as if a date was supposed to be set in stone as soon as I popped the question. So that on top of the illegal immigrant comment, I just kind of stood there shaking my head, saying they weren't the same things in the slightest, and walked away. It's the most ridiculous thing I have had to explain to him, but I can assure you there's better stories with him. I know for a fact he blew out a tire on his car and instead of fixing it, drove an donut spare for 4-ish months after dropping all of his money on a gaming PC, when he then blew out another tire in the middle of winter during a particularly cold season. That the strings on a guitar are, in fact, strings, not the music. I had a customer in a music store I used to work at, predominantly guitars, but other instruments, too, who repeatedly asked me for the music for a guitar while pointing to the guitars. I tried to maneuver the conversation by offering him a new guitar and God knows what else. After maybe 3 minutes of back and forward, I somehow managed to figure out he wanted strings. As we're walking up to where we keep the strings, I catch him making a face at my colleague as if to suggest, what's this guy's problem? Cut to us at the register and I'm trying to do the transaction. Out of his pocket he produces an old wireless landline phone and asks if we can fix it. As baffled as I was, I just politely said we couldn't, and suggested he try one of the electrical shops adjacent to us. He seemed almost offended at the idea, suggesting that he would have presumed we would undertake such repairs in a guitar shop. We didn't. Customer: which way do I turn on X Road to get to your store? Me: where are you coming from? Customer: I don't know yet. I'm gonna do a bit of shopping at other stores first. Me: okay, it's north of a town, and south of B-town on X Road. Customer: so is that to right or left? Me: depends on which direction you're coming from. Customer: ugh, you're not helpful. Me: if you're coming from the west it's a left on X Road. If you're coming from the east it's a right. Customer: just say you don't know and don't waste my time. Hangs up. Me: bonus points, came in later and told me with a smirk it was a left and I should remember that for next time. I had to explain to my supervisor that we do not have a certain piece of equipment on board. His argument was that a different ship of the same class had it, and our lieutenant had asked him if we have it, so we must have it. Me, being the technician, having to explain that I don't have the certification to work on that equipment, pointing out the dish on the mast of the other ship and asking him to point out that dish on our ship. He couldn't, and even taking a field trip to show him the extra equipment the guys on the other ship have to use, then asking him if he's ever seen that equipment on our ship. He hasn't. After all that, he still maintained that we must have the equipment. This guy was stupid as fuck. Follows: if you're out there, fuck you, you dense piece of shit. I'm a mechanic. I had to train a bunch of tire techs. One of them did not understand how to sweep, or what was meant by clean up your area. You push all the floor stuff into a pile, then you pick up the pile and throw it away. How do you pick it up? Not joking either. I guess he just never had to clean anything at home. Went over cleaning the toilets with him too. Another one is explaining to customers that bring their own parts that I still have to charge them for labor. Also, if the part they've brought is incorrect I can order them the right one, but I cannot take the part they sourced as a trade for the right part. You have to go back to the store you got it from. For some reason they believe that since they already have the part in their hands, it's free for me to just boop out the old one, and click the new one in its place. Not the case. I've had to explain that I will not be crawling on my head under your dashboard until you clean the footwells out from all the garbage / sunflower seeds / cans / living that you do in your car. They told me I should just fucking clean it if it's in your way. Now, a little bit of garbage is whatever. but when it's above the seat cushion and visibly packed down and wet. I draw my line. Our shop doesn't even do detailing either, so I get annoyed by just clean it. Rant over. We're in a pandemic. I need you to please keep your mask on in the store. If you can't understand me, please keep your mask on. It's not obstructing your hearing. I will try to speak up. Please don't lean over into my personal space. Yes, your 10-year-old needs to wear a mask. No, your infant doesn't need to wear one. Yes, it needs to go over your nose. I understand you have a respiratory disease and heart problems. You should be more stringent about wearing a mask, or put on a face shield if you truly can't spend 5 minutes in a mask. It's for your fucking safety. You're probably going to get very sick if you catch COVID. At first, when my father would read something off of a bill or paper to someone, he would pull his mask down before speaking to, I guess, sound better and louder. It was just in his mind, like wearing a scarf in the winter and taking it out of the way of your mouth to clearly speak to someone so they could see your mouth. I had to kindly tell him that during COVID you just can't pull your mask down every time you have to talk to someone for obvious reasons. He did it once while coughing too. Fortunately, I programmed it into him to keep the mask covering the mouth at all times, even when coughing or speaking.